Kia ora everyone, welcome back to a new video. So today I'm going to be talking about my interview experience at Auckland Council. So I applied for a fixed term role called Regulatory Support Officer, and yeah, I just applied on their website on the 16th of November, and the very next day I got an email asking me to basically do an online interview through Microsoft Teams. So yeah, I did that on the 22nd of November, and then 3 days later I got a call to say I was rejected. So today I thought I'd just talk about what happened during the interview and kind of my experience in case you guys are applying to Auckland Council. Maybe you have an interview coming up, or maybe you're just curious and you want to hear about my failures. So let's jump in. So the interview started basically with just, you know, a typical kind of tell me about yourself question. So you're just explaining a bit about your background and, you know, your experience and stuff like that. And then a bulk of the interview was based on like their values. So they were like develop, achieve, and collaborate, I believe. And so the first question was about like when you took a new approach and how you basically solved the problem in a creative way. And so I talked about like me being at uni and how I tried to change specific processes for like students that were getting maybe bad marks and how they could go about like disputing those results. And then the second question was, when did you go above and beyond for a customer or above and beyond in a workplace? And then when it came to the achieve question, it was about like when did you you know, achieve good results even though maybe you had to face a challenge. And I just talked about when I worked at Tank and it was really difficult, like I had to learn a lot of new things on the job. And yeah, basically just didn't give up and kept on persevering. And then the collaborate question was like, give an example of a time where you worked, you know, in a successful team, and basically why was it successful and like what did you do to make it successful. So I talked about being at Rainbow's End and having like, you know, just a very diverse group of people and like being able to communicate well. And then I basically had to talk about my internship at the Ministry of Business, and they wanted to know like what was my favorite part and also my least favorite part. I think my favorite part, I said like getting to work on stuff that I was interested in, and then my least favorite part was the fact that like things take ages and, you know, all the processes and all like just the red tape that you have to go through to like get things done. So maybe that wasn't the best example considering like they're a government agency as well and there's going to be the same problem. I also had to ask a question about like monotony and how I deal with doing just the same tasks over and over again, because I think this role that I applied to was pretty boring, to be honest. It was just like a lot of data entry and admin. And so I just talked about like working in a cafe and having to make tons of coffees, you know, do the same thing every day. And I just tried to make it interesting by, you know, doing latte art or trying to challenge myself and do things fast. There was also a question about health and safety. So I think I talked about how I always made sure that new staff were using the correct utensils and like safety gloves and stuff when I was working in hospitality. One of the last questions was about like the Māori culture and I guess how I respect but I thought it was pretty ironic because like the people asking me the question, like they couldn't even pronounce the word Māori or Tamaki Makoto. So yeah, anyways. And then basically after that, it was if I had some questions for them. I think I asked them like what was their favorite part of the role and what was the most challenging part of the role. By the end of the interview, I didn't really have a good feeling. Like the vibe just wasn't it. Like, to be honest, I wasn't that interested in the role and I think they could kind of tell. And then about 3 days later I got a call from one of the people that interviewed me, and yeah, they basically said that I wasn't successful. The reason they gave me was that my examples weren't in depth enough, which is fair enough. Like I probably could have talked about my internship a little bit more, talked about my studies a little bit more, but at the end of the day, like the role just like wasn't the right fit for me. So not too gutted. You'll have an interview coming up. I recommend you have some good examples, especially if it's like a behavioral interview. Also, I forgot to mention, but I remember they asked me like a really random question about Excel, like on a scale of 1 to 5, like how would you rate yourself on Excel? And I think I said 4, but like what kind of question is that? Like it's just so arbitrary. Like literally there's no point in asking someone that. If you have an interview coming up, obviously, you know, be familiar with your Māori values, you know, chuck in some cheeky buzzwords like tikanga, kaitiakitanga. And yeah, that's about it really. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in my next one. Ciao.